Renzo, I warned you. I will be talking about the World Cup nonstop until it ends. And you know, one of my favorite things about the World Cup?
What?
Food.
Wait, food? First of all, of course, I expect you to keep talking about the World Cup week after week, but this actually surprises me. How is the World Cup making you think of food?
Well, the World Cup in generally makes my mouth water. Se me hace la boca agua with each game. And you know why? Because I have a personal law or rule that every time I watch a game from a certain country, I eat the food from that country.
Oh, what a great idea.
Right?
Yes.
If it's Argentina, so some Argentinian empanadas. If it's Egypt, some Egyptian food, which is delicious. And even if they're playing against each other, you can have a menu for both. You don't only have to prepare go to a restaurant of the food that the team you're rooting for. You can try both.
So when Sweden played, did you have surströmming?
I didn't. I missed that opportunity, but it's too late now because they're out.
For anyone listening now wondering what that is, we may have to do another episode just for that. It's something that fascinates me. It's a fermented or spoiled tinned fish. And
it's like the rotten shark in Iceland.
Yes. I don't know what that one's called.
But is this a show about food or what?
No, it's a show about idiomatic expressions. In fact, it's called Just a Spanish Phrase.
And the Spanish phrase today is se me hace agua la boca.
Hacerse agua la boca, to put it in the infinitive, which in English, we have one just like it. We refer to things that are mouth-watering. And we say, it makes my mouth water. It's pretty straightforward.
So we are Just a Spanish Phrase, the companion podcast to News in Slow Spanish. So in News in Slow Spanish, we only speak Spanish, and we have a huge catalog of idiomatic expressions that you can find there used in a Spanish dialogue.
That's right.
Here, in Just a Spanish Phrase, we pick one of those phrases from our catalog, and we talk about it, and we talk about its origins and its multiple uses in the language.
That's right. It's just a different angle. It's a different way to play around with these, because expressions, I just love them. They're so interesting. They provide like a little tiny lesson, every time you use them, and they make conversations very interesting, especially if you're learning Spanish and you listen to News in Slow Spanish, I hope. It's so satisfying when you are learning about an expression and then you find a way to work it in.
You use it in a conversation and native speakers are like, wow, that's amazing.
Oh, just thinking about it. Me hace agua la boca.
So, hacerse agua la boca. So, what are the things that make your mouth water?
Well, immediately we have to mention food, because that's the physiological origin of this expression. It's honestly an expression that's been around in Romance languages at least, but as we mentioned, in English as well, for a very long time. It comes from popular culture where people over the centuries have simply observed this natural reaction that happens in all humans and other animals as well. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later, that when we see a food, a delicious food, or something that, has nutrition, and maybe we're hungry, or maybe we just love that food, our bodies, before we even touch that food, have a physiological reaction where we start salivating. And it's so powerful that we don't even have to see it or smell it or even talk about it. We can just think about food and we start salivating. And that's the origin of se me hace agua la boca. Literally, my mouth turns to water.
But what's interesting, too, is that in Spanish, we not only use that for food. We can use it in another context. Like, for example, at Trump, se le hace agua la boca cada vez, each time he sees a press opportunity. Or each time he sees, like a country he can consider, I don't know.
Or an opportunity to have a rally speech in front of people.
Yeah, or an opportunity he makes every time he sees money.
Exactly.
He starts salivating. So it's not only for with food that we can use it.
Exactly. And I think it is possible to use it that way, very figuratively speaking in English, but it's, from what my understanding, the research that I've done, it's way more common in Spanish, like you said, to use it in contexts completely outside of food.
Do you use it in English? Like, can I say, oh yeah, my mouth is watering by seeing all that money? Not really, right?
You know, I think it would be like creative, poetic license. You could do it, but it's not as common. As you said, in Spanish-speaking countries, and particularly we can speak for Latin American countries, it's very common. And people talk about, not to be a little too crass, but people talk about it over people they're attracted to, for example.
Yes.
And so it's used probably, just as often to talk about non-food related things as food. And in English, I think it's just way more common to keep it related to food.
Well, I love food and I love football. So I want to go back to the beginning of our show where
But what's making your mouth water, the football or the food?
Both.
Ah, okay.
Both.
All right, back to the beginning.
The idea of an underdog winning an important match, that makes me, it's exciting. Se me hace la boca agua de imaginar.
Yeah, an underdog story, someone coming from behind and winning it all, or from a deficit in the score and then flipping it over by the end of the game.
Like, of course, I'm thinking, unfortunately, they're out already, but my dear Focinha and my dear Cabo Verde.
And what a game that was. If you haven't been watching that at home, well, what are you doing?
Exactly. That was one of the best games of the World Cup.
Yeah.
The Cabo Verde, Argentina. Well, every Cabo Verde game was a surprise and was amazing. And they were unfortunate because they had to play with world champions. Like their first game was against Spain. Then they had Portugal, Saudi Arabia. That was not that hard. But then Argentina is like, seriously? You're making me play with the most difficult teams.
But they really held their ground. They played amazingly.
They did. And not only that, they showed, they're like Focinha is not only a great goalie, but apparently a great human being. And that's what's most important. I really dislike when I see players insulting each other or players throwing like things.
Oh, yeah. No, that's the opposite. Eso no me hace agua la boca.
I actually watched the U.S. Open, the U.S. Open, oh my God, the Wimbledon.
Ah, yes.
Osaka, how she beat the number one in the ranking, Vasarenka, I think is her name. And Vasarenka started like hitting her head with the racket.
Oh, I've not seen that.
Yes, it's crazy. It's like, I know there's a lot of psychological pressure, especially in tennis, because you're alone out there. But still. So
speaking of psychology.
Yes.
So this is the other little bit of history that I wanted to bring up because, so as we mentioned a little bit ago, this expression, hacerse agua la boca, it has a clear origin in our physiological reaction to thinking about or smelling or craving food. But, as Maria pointed out, we use it very often in Spanish to talk about non-food related things. And there is a interesting historical precedent for that, which is in the 19th century, the Russian physiologist Ivan Pavlov. You've heard this name.
Yes, of course. The famous perro de Pavlov.
Yes, exactly. Pavlov's dog. Because this scientist is considered the father of classical conditioning, the idea that you can influence behaviors through repetition, conditioning. And this was the famous experiment wherein he documented this was he noticed that dogs would salivate when they were being fed. He kept these dogs for experimental purposes. And he then started observing that they would salivate before the food reached them. So he created this experiment where he rang a bell right before the food was presented to the dogs, and then tested to see if just the sound of the bell, after enough repetition, conditioning, if just the sound of the bell could cause the dogs to salivate. And indeed, he observed that
It
the
did,
bell.
yes.
Yeah, the bell became associated with food, and so it made them salivate. And this much more figurative way of thinking of hacerse agua la boca, of mouth watering, perhaps has a connection to our modern day use of the phrase, which is way more versatile. Not just food, but anything that...
Yeah, just thinking of a positive outcome, se te hace agua la boca. You anticipate the emotion.
So maybe for those of you listening, hopefully you're practicing some Spanish and you'll have an opportunity to use this in Spanish, but maybe take some more freedom with this phrase. In English too, mouth watering, and use it in a non-food related conversation.
Exactly. And you have an entire week to practice, and we're going to see you next week.
Bye-bye.